so Cascade Fence and Deck is about to install a project for you. You have a couple questions, I'm sure. We're gonna go through our process. Hopefully that answers any of the questions that you may have. And by all means, if there's any other questions that pop up, just simply ask your estimator or reach out to your project manager. So today I have Chad. Say hello, everyone.
What's up, everybody?
And then we have David over here. Chad and David work as part of our install crew, so I figured I would bring them in to talk about this process and just kind of go through it one by one. So let's pretend that you're going to be coming to my house to install a new fence or a deck. On day one, before you leave the shop or on the way to my house, will you notify me that you're coming?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Usually, preferably call. And if we can't get a hold of you, shoot a text over to you so you have a heads up.
Yeah. Perfect. And what time typically are you arriving to the job sites? Is it like 7:30 to 8:30 or so?
Between 8, probably between 8 and 9.
Between 8 and 9?
Yeah.
And depends on traffic and how far away the job is and all of that, of course. So you're going to be at the shop, you're unloading the truck from the day before, you're loading up for your project, and then on the way to the job, it's just going to be a simple text message or a phone call. Hey, we'll be there at X time. And then when you show up, what's your guys' preference? Do you obviously knock on the door? What's your guys' preference on day one?
Walk up, we knock on the door, introduce ourselves to the homeowner, and then we pretty much just ask them, is it okay where we park? And from there, we walk the project from there with them. So. Okay,
cool. So starting off with just some of the more basic questions, but important, like, hey, where should I park? Mm-hmm. And with garbage duty or mail or anything, is there anything weird we need to know there? Mm-hmm. And then it's going to be a simple walkthrough of the project. So on a walkthrough of a project, what are you typically going over? Or is there any specific things that you're talking about on that walkthrough?
We want to make sure we set expectations with the customer and make sure that we're being courteous and respectful of their property, because we are working around their home, and we want to make sure that while we're in your space, you feel respected. We're not trespassing in certain areas or blocking things, making your life harder.
Yeah.
Because contractors working your home isn't the most convenient thing in the world.
Right.
And we want to make sure that the expectations are set for the job itself. Make sure that things were designed the way you expected them to be designed, and that we're going to be able to achieve that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's the important thing there, is understanding, or when our crews know that it's not a convenience for them to be at your home. And so they want to make it as enjoyable as they can, while they are demoing the entire project or rebuilding it. So a couple things that can be helpful from you is there any areas that you want us to stay away from, or be extra careful around this banana plant over here that's just starting, or whatever it is, just feel free and let us know, and we're going to try to accommodate that to the best of our ability. Okay, so now you've done a walkthrough. We're gonna probably set some signs out front, letting the shop and anyone else that might be coming to the project throughout, letting us know where the job is. How do the updates work? If I'm the homeowner, if you're coming to my house, what does that look like, throughout the day or at the end of the day?
Usually, as soon as we get there and we finish the walkthrough with the customer, we pretty much just let them know what's the best way to contact you throughout the day. Okay. And they'll usually let you know right there, I have meetings at this time, so I'm free for maybe 10 minutes after my meeting, and then usually from there, that's pretty much how we stay in touch with them. Yeah.
These guys are awesome. Just let them know. If you have a specific schedule, if you want them to send picture updates throughout the day because you won't be there, whatever it is, just let them know. And they're more than happy to accommodate that. So at the end of the job, let's say this is a 2 to 5 day project. At the end of that job, do I have to worry about any cleanup, or what do you guys do at the end of each day?
No, we always try to clean up daily, get all the trash out, that way you're not walking out in your backyard or whatever the case may be and you're just seeing garbage all over the place. It's not a good look. And especially end of the job, we make sure all our tools are packed up, any leftover materials packed up, garbage, make sure everything isn't getting left behind.
Okay.
Leave the job site cleaner than we arrived.
Leave the job site cleaner than we arrived. I like that. Yeah. Is there going to be anything left on site? I assume you guys have a lot of material. This is a big project. Where would that be stored, and is there anything left on site?
So it kind of like, at least for me, planning out the day, like it depending on if we have a bunch of demo, we're not taking the entire bundle or package. So we're making room for the demo. We really don't leave material on site. I mean, we do ask the homeowner, depending on how your project is. I mean, if you're doing something like a big deck or a big patio cover that takes you like 2 weeks, then it'll probably
Might be necessary.
Yeah, to save material because you're making transfers from the yard over to the job
Yeah.
But we don't leave tools. That's a big no-no, I think, for us. So we already made that clear.
We have big trucks that have all the space, so we try to keep the mess away from you as much as we possibly can. All right, so then the project is coming to a completion. What does that process look like? Either of you take that away.
Yeah.
Getting closer to completion, try to do another walk around with the customer whenever possible. Make sure that the job's progressing the way you want and that expectations are being met.
Yeah.
That way, if something didn't turn out the way you thought it would in your head, we can figure out what it is we need to do to make you happy.
Right.
Because that's important to us, and make sure we deliver on what we said we could do. Also, just making sure daily communication, check-ins with the customer and the product manager, making sure materials being staged on time so that we can keep the job on track. That way, you're not going to be expecting delays, and we can finish on time.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we understand this is a lot of times once in a lifetime purchase, and so when we're done and we're wrapping up, if you're home, we're going to want to do a walkthrough going over any specific details, whether it's a latch and how it works or handing off keys or whatever the walkthrough consists of. It's just we really like it for a couple reasons. One, to set some expectations for the care and what you need to do with your project, but then two, and for me this is the main thing, is there anything that you have questions on? Is there any concerns ooh, I don't like this spot over here, or I don't like that over here? It's much easier for us to address it right then and there when we have all the tools, the crew is still there, it's the same crew, we can just fix that rather than you kind of not sure about an area, but you're just kind of worried or you feel dumb to say something. Just don't. Throw that away. If you have concerns, bring them up. That's why we're doing this walkthrough. One question that I hear a lot from the office is, do I need to be home?
You don't need to be home.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, we would love it if you're home, but you don't need to be home. I feel like we're really good at the communication part. If you are home, it is easier for us to just get clarity on what you do want, expectation wise, and not expecting this one thing, and then you come back and it's the total opposite thing. So
right. So maybe a tip there would be, if you're not home or if you're going to be at work, if there's the ability to even do a FaceTime call throughout the day, a lot of times that can be helpful if we're just doing a FaceTime call and you're like, whoa, what happened here or whatever. Like Chad said, it's just a good expectation thing. And then a second question is, how long does it take? Have you guys ever been asked that by a homeowner?
Absolutely.
What do you say?
It varies by project. Generally, the project manager will have kind of a timeline for us on our end, and we try to work within that as best as possible. And like I've said before, just maintain communication throughout the process so that if there is some reason it might take a little longer, then the customer has a heads up before that happens, and that way hopefully it doesn't throw everything out of whack.
Let's say it's a 3-day project. On day 2, you run into some hurdles. Mm-hmm. Would you rather cut corners and meet that schedule on day 3, or just have that conversation with the customer and extend it to a day 4?
I would probably have the conversation with the customer and extend it that extra day.
Yeah.
Because if we're cutting corners, then we're gonna have to go back there and redo work. And
yeah, that's a no-go. We tell our crews that we never win by rushing to beat that schedule. And if you're watching this and you are going to be a customer of ours, if your project gets bumped a day or two, as your project gets closer, this is probably why. The project before you had a couple hiccups here or there. All right. Another question here. Do you ever get asked like, do you need anything from me or us as the customer?
I do seem to get asked that quite a bit.
Yeah, they'll ask us like, I guess when we're done with the walkthrough, they'll pretty much just ask us like, hey, like, do you guys need anything from us? And
Is there anything you need?
besides just like power, where the water is. Other than that, I mean,
So electrical source, outlet, and then power or water.
and then just pretty much communicating with the homeowner, just letting them know, when is it perfect to reach out to you, because
Right.
a lot of people work from home nowadays. So
Yeah, and these guys ain't picky. I mean, their break times are frequent throughout the day, and they're going to be taking naps. So just give them any bed you have in your house. They're not going to be. It doesn't matter if it's the master or not. All right. So then, last question I got is, how about noise?
I mean, we work with power tools, so there's going to be some noise.
every time.
Yeah, so like Chad said, we typically will be there like, let's say between 8 and 9. Hopefully that's not too early for you. And, we try to be done between like 3 and 5 in the afternoon. So again, not keeping people up late or anything like that. We try to be respectful of that and mindful of neighbors and whatnot.
Neighbors,
I think what I've seen is, if possible, they're going to keep the air compressors and stuff on the truck if it's doable to. But I think the communication is best here. If you as the homeowner have a really special request, just let us know, and we would love to accommodate that if possible. So, any last questions that come to mind that when you show up to a job site a customer might have? I mean, I know we covered a bunch here, but
one I get often is like, how are you going to do this? Because like maybe the deck's 23 feet up in the air or something like that. So it's like, we'll have to explain like, oh, well, I'm going to put scaffolding here. I can reach this. Things how I'm going to go about the process safely. And hopefully not kill myself. So and making sure that everything's clear on how it's actually done. Because a lot of times, maybe they don't come from a construction background. So they're just like, I have no clue how they are going to build this deck or whatever. So just kind of explaining our process and how we're going to accomplish what they want us to accomplish is a question very often.
There's a lot of this stuff that is talked about before the start date. So what you don't see is all of the collaboration and the communication between our install crew, Chad and David, and the actual PMs, the shop, the sales rep. There's a lot of game planning done behind the scenes so that when they show up, they're not just blind to what's going on. So hopefully this answers some of the questions that you may have had with the, coming up to the start date of your project. Like I said, if there's any other ones that you're wondering about, feel free and let us know. We would love to answer them.